to Building with Blake. Today we are going to be doing our first episode, which is going to be a Dungeon Master screen. Those of you who play Dungeons and Dragons will know this as what the Dungeon Masters use to block all the stats and such. Those of you who don't, this is what it looks like. Now today we're doing a very basic one. If you want to do something more advanced, you can. This is just something that I'm comfortable with, and you can take it from here. When you're using a saw, you don't want to use gloves because the gloves will catch on the blade. For this, we're doing our bare hands, but we're going to use something called a push stick to help guide our wood through. First, we're going to be doing a fresh cut on the end so that way it's nice and straight. So I'm doing a 1/2 inch off for the first, and then the next couple cuts after that are going to be 14 inches long. Now that we're done cutting the boards, it's time to decide which ones we're going to do our designs on. After we do that, I use trace paper to trace out the design I want to use. You can freehand, it's a lot more difficult though. Now today we're going to be dremeling out our designs on our DM screen. I do 2 depths when I do it because my Dremel can't cut too deep, but if you can do it in 1 cut, that's always better. You can see here, I'm going to be using a little bit of a grinding disc. That's going to help us get off all these little rough bits and make it so our epoxy doesn't have too many ridges in it. Now if there's little tiny dips, we're not too worried about that, but I'm still going to be using my little router guide so that way I have a semi-consistent depth. Alright, now that we've gotten our dremeling finished, we start the stain. Now that we've stained, it's time to do our resin. I use Art and Glow. It's just my preferred brand. It's a 1-to-1. Makes it really easy. You can use whatever resin you want for this, either tabletop or casting resin. It's not really particular. Just do whatever you feel comfortable with. Just like when we're doing the stain, it's always a good idea to check the back of your spar urethane, make sure there's not any prep work you need to do beforehand. You might have to sand with a certain grit, or it might have to be a certain way. Some of them have different requirements if it's already a finished product. Just check the back of yours to make sure you're doing it the way it's supposed to be done. Now that we're done spraying, we let it sit. Mine says I had to leave it for an 1.5 hours, so I'm gonna go do some stuff and I'll come back. A few small tips to add. Make sure you cover your work surface and the area beneath or around it, so that way you're not having everything so sticky, because if you hear it now, that's my feet sticking to the plastic from the little bit of spar urethane that did not get on the project. So now the next day, our first coat is fully set. Now we flipped them over and we're gonna do another 3 sets. All right, well I guess that's enough talking. Let's get down into assembling. Alrighty, that's going to do it for our Dungeon Master screen video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. If you did, go ahead and give us a like. If you have any questions on what we did, go ahead and just go down to the comment section, write your comment. We'll get to it as soon as we can.